Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Dream, Plan, Achieve, helping students explore enhanced educational opportunities. My name is Mitzi Holland, and I'm excited to have you join us today for this special session. We have some wonderful guests who will share their expertise and knowledge with you. As counselors and advisors, you all play a critical role in helping students discover opportunities that can shape a student's future. So I want to take just a minute to go ahead and introduce our guests, but in just a moment, they will be coming onto the camera and sharing about their program. But we have Dr. Jennifer Price with the Governor's Scholar Program, Ann Jewell with the Governor's School for Entrepreneurs, Paula Lockhart with the Governor's School for the Arts, and Matthew Donovan with the Kentucky Trio program, and he's also the director of the College Access program at Morehead State. Together, these programs offer students experiences that build leadership, creativity, career readiness, and pathways to post-secondary success. Our conversations will focus on how you as counselors and advisors can identify students who might thrive in these programs and guide them through the application process and ultimately help them make the most of these life-changing opportunities. So we're going to start with a few questions, and I'm going to begin with Jennifer Price with the Governor's Scholar Program. And she will be talking about her program, and then we'll move on to the other panelists. And as she is talking, she's going to introduce her program, share what makes her program a unique opportunity for Kentucky students. And as you're talking, Dr. Price, please be sure to include what types of students thrive in your program and how we as counselors might recognize what makes a good fit. And I'm sure you're going to address application, processes and things like that. So welcome, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you so much, Mitzi. It's a pleasure to be here. I go by Jen, so if I meet you at some point out and about, counselors, please introduce yourself. As Mitzi said, I'm with the Governor's Scholars Program and happy to share with you a little bit about who we are and what we do. So our mission is to enhance Kentucky's next generation of civic and economic leaders. And we do that each summer by bringing together students from all across the Commonwealth and create an intellectual community of learners. Our concept of this community is built over a period of 5 weeks. It is a full-time residential program, so students arrive on one of 3 campuses to experience 5 full weeks of taking classes, interacting with each other in a residential component, and really just growing and reflecting on the changes that they've experienced during the summer. Each summer, we have about 1,000 scholars spread across our 3 sessions. The sessions are slightly staggered in time, but they are happening concurrently across 3 institutions. For 2026, we will be at Center College, Morehead State University, and Murray State University. So if you've been involved with GSP before, those campuses will be familiar to you. We have re-upped our contract with those 3 institutions for the next 3 years. So the type of student that really thrives in our program is any type of high-achieving student. I will speak a little bit more about that in just a moment, but I want to direct you to the application materials that are on our website. That link has so much information, both for your students and for you counselors. The way that our selection works is that students submit applications directly to school counselors. We then ask that you have a committee of folks to evaluate those applications at the high school level. For those of you in high schools that are in larger districts, we then have a district level competition, and then applications get submitted to us at the statewide selection committee. The number of applications that you can submit to us at the state is based on the size of your junior class population. So I mention all that to say that counselors have received communications from us recently about how those calculations are made and how um, you identify the most competitive applicants at your school. And those resources are available on our website as well. Ultimately, our goal is really to get representation from all 120 Kentucky counties. We do that with a lot of different efforts, coming to local communities to recruit high achieving students. The only eligibility requirements that we have are that the student must be a Kentucky resident. They must be in the 11th grade at the time of application with a plan to return to their Kentucky high school for their senior year. And they have to have a standardized test score, the ACT, PSAT, or SAT taken at some point during high school. There is not a minimum score requirement. There's not a minimum GPA or any sort of specific quantitative standards. Any junior can apply. But of course, the more academically advanced students, the more high scoring students on those standardized test scores and with their GPA are likely to develop more competitive applications. Our application does attempt to take a holistic perspective of achievement, though. So academic achievement is only 30% of what we consider when we determine um, the most competitive students. So you can see on this slide that there are three pieces to academic achievement: GPA, standardized test score. We also include a measure of the difficulty of the course load that students have taken based on what they've taken relative to what's offered at their high school, so that we try not to penalize students who are in schools that have fewer opportunities for AP classes and things like that. So that score is generated by school counselors. The second large component of the application is the student profile. It consists of extracurricular activities, service, and honors and awards. So I think this is especially important because I think sometimes people have a myth that GSP is only for students with the highest ACT score or the 4.0 student. And certainly those students often compete well in our application and selection process. But you can see that the student profile is weighted just as heavily as the academic achievement part of our application. We also have a writing entry, a teacher recommendation, and a community recommendation to round out a holistic view of the student. Once on campus, the students participate in a variety of experiences. So the classes that we offer, the primary class that students are aware of when they sign up or when they apply, rather, is called the focus area class. And in the application materials, you can see a list of what those opportunities are. Students get to choose which of those they're interested in. They identify their top three and then are selected from that. The general studies class we assign, it's another opportunity for interdisciplinary learning. We have an additional leadership development class called Leadership Seminar. And then, of course, a variety of other opportunities within the 5 weeks to learn and grow in the residential component with convocation speakers, community service, clubs and activities. We offer college and career preparation opportunities like a college fair, ACT prep sessions, and that sort of thing. I think the thing that makes our program unique is that we offer classes from such a variety of disciplines. They're taught by a mixture of college professors, high school teachers, and industry professionals, covering all disciplines. So sciences, arts and humanities, social sciences. There are classes that are a little bit more professional oriented, like business accounting and entrepreneurship. So we offer really a wide gamut of opportunities. What that then gives us is a group of scholars who are really diverse in their learning experiences and their interests. and allows us to have groups of people in conversation who have really different perspectives on learning. The When students sign up for those focus area classes, they don't have to have any particular background or skills in an area. The only exception is we do offer one class called Spanish Language and Culture that requires 1 year of study of the Spanish language. Other than that, you can take a class just out of interest because you are curious and a particular topic wasn't offered at the high school level. One of the things that we often hear from our scholars is that GSP was considered life-changing. I will attest to that myself. I was a scholar in 1992 at GSP Murray, and the unique combination of students from all across the state coming together in an environment where there are no grades, there are no exams, no papers to write, but just really good dialogue and exploration, hands-on learning, project-based learning. Those opportunities are really unlike a traditional classroom setting. So I think the message to your students is this is not summer school. We do have classes, but they're very engaging and really different than a traditional college or high school setting. The last thing I have on this slide is just some instructions. My understanding is you'll receive a copy of these slides, so I thought you might find these points helpful as you go out and work with your students in your schools, how to direct them to materials and how you might best support your students. And I'm happy to say more about this when we get to the question part. If you are a brand new counselor, we are having a new counselor Zoom soon. So feel free to email Helen Stringer at that link there and introduce yourself so that we can make sure we get you invited to those opportunities. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Jen. And we will move immediately to Ann Jewell with the Governor's School for Entrepreneurs.
Hello, everybody. So happy to be here. Really appreciate this opportunity. The Governor's School for Entrepreneurs is the new kid on the block when it comes to the Governor's School opportunities that are here in Kentucky. And so we are still working to raise awareness. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the folks with us today maybe haven't heard about us or just don't know much about us. So I'm really happy to dive in here with you. Let's do it. The Governor's School for Entrepreneurs has a collegiate program as well, along with our high school program, but we're going to focus today on our summer startup program. And that is a 3-week immersive, intensive program that takes place. We're going to be at the University of Kentucky over the next couple of years. And what we're really all about is trying to identify and inspire, empower Kentucky's future innovators. And identifying them is step one, and that's really kind of what the application process is all about. So we will tell you some more about that here. Whoops, let me go back. There we go. So a little bit about our program. We really emphasize freedom and empowerment and collaboration, that notion of freedom from books and sort of traditional learning. This is an intense, immersive kind of experience. No quizzes or tests necessarily, but other kinds of challenges and freedom in general in terms of being away from home, living on a campus. Empowerment. Yeah, so with our program, they're going to be working on solving problems and creating businesses, and they're empowered to make their own decisions. We really try to push things back onto them when they have questions and really kind of help them develop that notion of being able to make decisions and negotiate with team members and things like that. So empowerment is a big part of what we try to teach them, and also for them to know that they're empowered when they leave as well. The benefits don't end after these 3 weeks. This is a lifetime of skills that they're going to pick up in these 3 weeks. And then that notion of collaboration is really important with us. They'll be divided up into teams of 5 with people they've never met before from all different parts of the state. And we love that idea of building bridges and breaking down barriers to stereotypes and things like that. Folks might have about different parts of Kentucky. And so that idea of collaboration and teamwork is also something that is really important, to have students who are able to get there in terms of working with other people and being open and curious about other folks. So this is just a quick little, like, what are we doing for these 3 weeks? Well, we're very, very busy. This just gives you a quick little thought, idea of how we pack the day with all kinds of activities, teaching them how to start businesses, and there's field trips and other things involved with it too, but it's a packed day for sure. So what are we doing over those 3 weeks? We're identifying problems, and they are creating business solutions. They spend that first week really working on real world problems with their team, and identifying problems that their entire team feels passionate about trying to solve. And then that next week, the second week, is focused on picking the one that they're going to try to solve and researching it and creating a solution to that problem in the form of a business. And then by the time we hit that third week, they're starting to work on their pitches. So imagine Shark Tank for high school students. That's what we're working toward, our Pitch Fest competition and celebration, a weekend, 2 days of the pitches taking place, live pitches on stage. And so sometimes that notion of the pitch and getting up on stage is a little bit of a barrier for folks who are real nervous about that. But we always want to make it really clear that we are going to prepare you. You're going to be practicing the pitch. You're going to be prepared for that pitch, no doubt about it. We have dress rehearsals and so on. So whenever we hear anything that might be a bit of a barrier to applying for the program, we just try to make sure that students know we're there, and we're going to make sure that they are ready and that they have, a good pitch experience. So who is a good fit for summer startup? Let's take a quick look. We are looking for students who are scrappy and curious. That idea of failure, that's a big theme with us, learning to fail without fear. And for some students, that kind of blows their mind. They just sort of can't imagine that it's okay to fail. But we really encourage it and try to help them understand that that is a real important part of growth, especially with a startup business and business in general. Failing is an important step in the process. That idea, again, of being collaborative, it can there's lots of pivots that happen, right, in a business, and sometimes we mimic that with our program as well. Things are changing as we go, and so being okay with some flexibility and a little bit of chaos. We find students who can handle that is a good sign that they'll be successful. And that last one there is really, really important, that entrepreneurial passion. So how do you look for that as a counselor or advisor? If they've already got their own business, that's usually a pretty good sign that they are really interested in this and could be a good fit for us. But that's not necessarily, not everybody who comes to our program already has their own business. That's part of what we're teaching them, is how to start one and have a successful one. But just to look for that idea of grit and passion for sort of charting their own future, right? That notion of independence. Students who maybe, just aren't a traditional student necessarily in terms of classroom work, but have just some other kind of drive that you see. Those are the folks who are probably going to be a pretty good fit with us. So in terms of our application, and you see this headline here, right? We care about your grit, not your GPA. So that's kind of a sassy little statement. And it is only meant to try to get the attention of students who might think that they're not a fit for anything with the governor's name in it. And also for the advisors and counselors to sort of think, that way too, to kind of look for students who might not always see themselves, at a governor's program. We don't ask for GPA or test scores. Students can, give them to us, that's fine, and so on, but it's not part of what we evaluate. The application is free, the whole program is free for everyone. Once they successfully complete the program, like the other programs, they're eligible for all kinds of college scholarships in Kentucky. And for our program, current 9th, 10th, and 11th graders can apply. So our application looks like this. There's a 90-second video where we ask them to just sort of pitch themselves to this program, pitch themselves as a teammate. There are some short answers that come into play as well, where we really try to hone in on that notion of passion and drive and grit for, the business world. Is something that we try to really get to the meat of that. And then a couple of recommendations are something that we ask for as well. Our application will open October 3rd. It'll close January 16th. And our website there, KentuckyGSE.com, is where the application will live. And certainly feel free to reach out to us, info@KentuckyGSE.com. We also will have some virtual information sessions coming up. Those will be posted on our website as well, but I just wanted you to be aware that that we do this kind of thing with students and parents and counselors as well. And there'll be several, or gosh, probably about a dozen of those between now and the close of the application. So Summer Startup 2026, we will be at the University of Kentucky. We're still settling on our final dates for this summer. It'll be roughly sometime mid-June-ish to mid-July-ish, somewhere in there is what was the time frame for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. And moving right along for sake of time, because we have a lot of other things to discuss with you all, I'm going to move on in to the Governor's School for the Arts and throw it over to Paula.
Hello, hello. Thank you all so much for the opportunity. I'm so glad to be here and be able to get the message out about GSA. So what is GSA? GSA is a community of artists empowering Kentucky's next generation of creative leaders. GSA is for everyone. We are a community of artists who support young artists. Our goal is to enhance a student's college experience by giving them practical tools, while also giving them the access to college scholarships and the ability to meet folks who are working in their field. So folks know us the most through our summer program. It is a 3-week program for high school age artists. This is a residential program like our other two. Folks are living on a college campus. We have conservatory style training, which means that it is fun, but it is rigorous. So students are immersed in their art from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. It is very much a college preparatory art intensive. Come on, slide. Oh, hold on. Okay, there we go. So at GSA, we have, this slide is actually a little off. We actually have 10 art forms. This year, we are introducing a new art form. So the art forms we have are creative writing, dance, architecture and design, drama, graphic design, that is our new one, film and photo, instrumental music, musical theater, visual art, and vocal music. So students can apply for up to 2 art forms, but they can only attend for 1. Students can also attend GSA only 1 time. We want to make sure that everyone has the capacity to attend GSA if they so choose. So a lot of folks wonder, how much does it cost to attend GSA? Tuition free. We have been tuition free since we began in 1987. Now we do have application fees, and then when it comes to art form supplies or supplies for your dorm room, folks do have to pay for those on their own. However, we do not want cost to be a barrier at all. So if anyone needs support in terms of covering an application fee, or if you have a student that gets into the program, but they don't know if they can afford their art form supplies or, toiletries for their dorm room, please, please, please contact us. Our goal is to make sure that everyone has the best experience that they possibly can. And we know that the Commonwealth is full of folks who run the gamut in terms of what they have access to. And we want to make sure that folks are able to have the best GSA experience possible. Okay, so application qualifications. You have to be a current sophomore or junior in Kentucky. So that includes public school, private schools, and home schools. We are also looking for folks who have the artistic potential and artistic skill. So, are they prepared for a highly immersive experience and a fast paced experience? If not, can they get prepared between the class acceptance time and the time, the start of the summer program? So, as much as we as much as we value artistic skill and potential, we also value passion for the art form. Does your student love the art? How and how do they demonstrate their love for the art? The Commonwealth has 120 counties, and not all 120 counties have the same access to arts education. So there is skill and the ability to do the art already, but there's also the passion to grow. And our goal is to have a blend of both. Collaboration and acceptance. Are you a student who is willing to work with a lot of new people in new ways? So we ask that everyone come into GSA with an open mind. And we ask everyone to come into GSA knowing that you are going to meet people from different towns who experience different type of art. You're going to be roomed with someone who is from a different county and in a different art form. So we want folks to be open to collaboration and acceptance on all fronts. A curious mind. Are you a student who is, or do you have a student who is willing to be challenged toward growth in their art form? A large misconception with art is that you can only do it one way and there's a right or a wrong. And that is not the case at GSA. We want folks who are interested in learning more, all backgrounds and identities. So GSA is a diverse community and we respect, a diverse community of respect, exchange, tolerance, and empathy. That means that GSA, simply put, GSA is for everybody. This is not a community where we shun folks because of their differences. In fact, we believe our differences are what make us such a strong community. So, a few items of note. You must currently be a sophomore or a junior to apply. So, we say rising juniors or seniors during the summer. So, you must be a sophomore or a junior to apply. GPA, ACT, and SAT scores are not required. Again, students can apply for up to 2 art forms. There is an application fee. It is $35 for one art form and an additional $15 for a second application. However, if you have a student who is on free or reduced lunch, or if your district is on free or reduced lunch, they can click a button and they do not have to pay an application fee. Something that I didn't have on the slide, but I want to make sure to note is something that we often hear is that we don't send a list of students, or like, how do the counselors know who can apply? Anyone is eligible to apply. So I think I want to make that distinction between our lovely programs, knowing that with GSP, they have certain qualifications that have to be met first and foremost when it comes to the students, whereas at GSA, it is very possible that students apply and no one knows until they make it to the final round audition. And that's okay too. But we want students to feel comfortable coming to everyone in their presence and letting them know that they're applying. Okay, so we have recruitment webinars. We will be doing them all this fall and going into the application closing. So all of our webinars are free to attend, but you must register on our website, www.kentuckygsa.org. So the webinars are an hour in length. They're very similar to this format. And we also have a Q&A at the end of each session. So all of the GSA 101's all the GSA 101 webinars will start at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we have art form specific webinars, which is just what it sounds like. We will have a webinar that is just devoted to vocal music, or a webinar that is just devoted to drama. And those take place between the 5 p.m. to 8:30 a.m. time frame. We're still getting those scheduled, but more to come on that. All of the webinars are recorded and available to watch on our YouTube channel. So once they get posted, once the recording goes live, we put it back on our website, and we also post it on our social media as well. The dates for the GSA 101s are September 25th, October 7th, November 10th, and December 3rd. Again, art form specific webinars are going to be taking place, but we don't have that schedule just yet. We also have the ability to do in-person or virtual recruitment sessions, which means that myself or another member of the GSA team will be more than happy to come to your school, to come to your parent night session, whichever you all have. And we would love to come talk about GSA and answer any questions that folks may have. So here's a little bit about our application timeline. So the application portal is going to open up on October 10th. That's also the day when our applicant guides are released. And then we have 2 videos that show you that walk you through how to complete an application and then how to use an applicant guide. So the applicant guide is like your one-stop shop for all the things you need to know about your art form. It tells you what the application is going to be like. It gives you a description of what you can expect to do during the summer program. It gives you criteria, tips, all of that good stuff. So with our applications, with the application process, it is a 2-step process. Everyone applies online, and then if someone becomes a finalist, they either have a in-person or a virtual final round audition. So October 10th is when the application portal opens. January 18th, 2026 is the deadline for the GSA 2026 application. And then on February 13th, our finalists are announced. March 12th through the 14th are our final round auditions and reviews. Again, some of them will be in person and some of them will be virtual. On April 10th, that is when we have our accepted and alternate announcements. So we say these are the students who are for sure in the GSA class, and then we have a list of alternates. And if someone, is unable to come to the program at any time, we will call up those alternates. Something that we get asked is how long will you know if you're alternate, if you're going to get into the program? We have folks who have found out the week after they got into the program, and then we had a student this past summer who got called up the day that the program started, and they say, "Yep, we're gonna come." So it kind of runs the gamut, but we also know if you don't want to just wait, and you want to turn it down and go on about your summer, that's absolutely fine. And then GSA 2026 will be June 7th through June 27th. So we are coming off of was where I'm looking for expanded funding. So in the past, since 2022, we have had 3 years of having being on a campus for the entire summer. This year, we are going back down to 1 session during the month of June. Our campus, will be going to a new campus that has yet to be announced. It will be getting announced in October, so more to come on that end. And then the applicant checklist. So what can you do? What can your students do to learn more about GSA? So we suggest that you visit our website. Our website is going to have all the information that you need to know. And let's say it doesn't have something that you need. It has our contact information so that you can reach out. Mitzi has my email address. You are more than welcome to share that, Mitzi. And please, if you have any questions or concerns, do not hesitate to reach out. So currently on our website, we have the applicant guides from last year. We're still updating the ones for 2026, but they don't change that significantly. So the best piece of advice I would say is send your students to those applicant guides and have them start going through them and start having an understanding of what they're actually applying for. We again attending the webinars are very helpful because that's often the space where if you are a person who has a lot of questions and you maybe don't feel comfortable asking the questions, somebody's going to ask that question for you. So you get a lot of space to learn more. So we suggest that you attend the art form specific webinar or GSA 101. However, if you do not attend, that is not the end of the world. Okay. And then start preparing and uploading your materials nice and early. We use a platform called Accepted, and Accepted, like, like most things on the internet, can sometimes crash if a lot of people are using it at once. So we suggest that students get on, start working on their applications, and give themselves a good chunk of time to get their things submitted. And then this photo that you see, this is one of what our applicant guides look like. That is a film and photography applicant guide. And let me not change the slide again. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. And last but certainly not least, we'll hear from Matthew Donovan, representing Kentucky Trio. And as I mentioned earlier, Matthew is also the director of the Student Access Program at Morehead State.
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everybody's having an amazing morning And so, my name, like Mitzi said, is Matthew Donovan. I'm with the Commonwealth Educational Opportunity Center at Morehead State University. I'm also the president of of Kentucky Trio. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Trio programs and kind of what we do and how we are able to help participants throughout our state. So we are a grant-funded organization that focuses on adults from low-income first-generation backgrounds, providing the tools to access college applications and help with financial aid. This program not only serves the first step provides the first steps, but a gateway for these adults to look forward into a brighter future. And when we say adults, so TRIO goes from everything from middle school all the way up through graduate school. There are 7 programs in TRIO. I represent one of them in my job as Kentucky Trio president. I also represent the rest of them. We are throughout the state, and we are able to help with low-income first generation populations, and that's who we serve. That's who we are all about. And so from middle school all the way up to graduate school, this is what we do, and we help them go to college and then make sure that the next generation of Kentuckians are not first generation. My service population is basically when you draw a line down I-75 and then look to the right, that's who we serve. We're in the Ashland area that covers those counties below. We're in the Jackson area, the Morehead State area, the Mount Sterling, the Pikeville, and the Prestonsburg. And so we have a population that we serve over 2,505 people a year. And so we try to look through these counties, basically the Appalachian counties of Kentucky. Now, I am not alone in my state of serving these populations. There are more programs that serve, like I said, from middle school all the way up to graduate school. And so they are throughout your state to provide these wonderful services that are completely free, provided by the federal government. We have objectives. Of course, when you work with federal grants, you have objectives that you need to meet, you have accountability. And so our objectives, the same as all the rest of the programs throughout our state, is you have to be low income first gen. That is what we're created for. TRIO programs throughout the nation created the idea and the name of first generation. A lot of people like to take credit for it, but Trio was the first ones to call somebody a first generation student. I myself am a first generation student. When I went to Morehead State a long time ago, 2001, I was a first generation student, and there's a lot of barriers and there's a lot of things that can happen that they do not know. First generation students do not know. And so our programs help assist those populations that cannot mitigate the college going process. We also help with college applications and for financial aid. Financial aid process is very difficult. A lot of times, a lot of people do not even apply for financial aid, even though they can get it. And so we're here to help make sure that 75% of our population that we serve does financial aid and college applications. We can also pay for college application fees. Many of the programs throughout the state, not only mine, can pay for college application fees, because sometimes that is a barrier for people going to college. We also have served a high population of GED and high school graduates. I focus a lot in my program at Morehead State on GED graduates, because this is a different population that do not have the same tools, the same support system that high school students do. I myself am a GED graduate, and so I know exactly what it takes to make sure that those GED graduates are able to go to college. And then we focus on enrollment, because if we're not here to change the first generation aspect in life, then why are we here? So we are very focused on making sure that these participants are able to enroll into our college programs throughout the state. And I will tell you that most of our population enrolls into a Kentucky Community and Technical College, because we are focused on being able to afford a college and being able to be successful in college. Just a little bit, we do all kinds of tabling events. We go out in the community. I have 36 counties that I personally are responsible for. We do serve all 120 Kentucky counties. We go to local high schools. We do go to back to school bashes. We just came out of August, so there was all kinds of back to school bashes that we attended. Career fairs, adult education centers, local outreach sites, and community partners. We're trying to be very prevalent and very involved with our community partners and our communities. This is my contact information. I am not only a part of TRIO, but I'm also a part of Morehead State University. And we try to make sure that we merge the two together. Being a part of Morehead State University, we are kind of the beacon on the hill in Eastern Kentucky. And so we try to recruit and get people to be able to have access with education in different areas in the thing. So one thing about TRIO, I don't know if any of you all on the call know this, but TRIO is a federally funded program from the Department of Education. And currently we are under attack by the administration. And so it would be really great. We provide so much opportunity. For every dollar that is spent federally for TRIO programs in our state, we return on investment $18. That is a very big win for our population. And we want to make sure that we continue to have the support and pushback and progress through our state, and how important that we are. We Low income and first generation populations are very underutilized and very underserved. And for those that live in Kentucky, and for those that definitely live in Eastern Kentucky, we know that this brain drain, this educational divide, this job desert is very in need of being supported and have education provided to them. And so we just try to, as TRIO programs, we just try to make sure that our state is well represented, and that we are able to continue our process of getting people educated and making sure that there is no more an issue of first generation. One of my friends told me yesterday, he said, "Do you know that Lyndon Johnson declared the war on poverty in Martin County, Kentucky?" And I did not know that. And so I was like, what greater idea, what greater show that Kentucky has the strength and the power to help people go to college and help people succeed, than to know that our president in the 60s came to our state and declared the war on poverty and tried to make a difference. And that's what TRIO programs try to do in the state of Kentucky. Thank you, Mitzi.
Thank you all. I have so many questions for all of you all, and I don't think we're going to get through all of the questions. Matter of fact, I know we're not going to get through all the questions. Heather, do you mind? Thank you. I was going to say, do you mind taking down the slides so that we can spotlight our panelists? I do want to try to get in one more question, if at all possible. So I would ask that our panelists turn their cameras back on for just a second. And we just have 15 minutes, so I'm going to be quick. I'm going to skip through and ask one last question, and then I will send an email with some additional questions if you all wouldn't mind sending me back some responses that I could share out. But I would like to know how your programs connect to scholarship opportunities, how they connect to college admissions and long-term career opportunities. And then if you do want to briefly touch on alumni networks or supports that students could access, that would be great. So I'm going to start with the same order. So we'll start with Jen, and then we'll move to Ann, Paula, and then Matthew.
Sure, I'm happy to talk about this. So we are very blessed in this state that the colleges and universities really support our programs. I can speak for all three governor schools that they do a great job of offering scholarships for our students. For GSP, you can look at our website and see a long list of the institutions in Kentucky and what their scholarship offers are. I will say that we don't dictate that. GSP doesn't offer specific scholarships, but the institutions themselves offer that. Many of them are, as long as you have attended and completed the program, you automatically get that scholarship. In some cases, there is some other requirement like a certain ACT score or certain GPA in order to get the highest tier of scholarship. But those are excellent opportunities. There are also a lot of mentorship type relationships that are formed at GSP that help students when they're applying to schools with letters of recommendation and things like that. I've even had scholars tell me even just completing the GSP application helped them when they were applying to college because they had kind of all their ducks in a row to put together in college applications.
Okay, thanks for that, Jen. I won't repeat what she said, except to say same thing in terms of the colleges dictate. You can see it on our website. The only thing I'll add for our program is that we know that college isn't necessarily for everyone. And so, we like to also emphasize these skills that they're learning, and I know they learn them at the other governor schools too, but just, these are lifetime skills that are going to help you throughout life, whether you go to college, whether you start your own business or not, or do both, or don't do either. So yes, plenty more info on the website about scholarships, and then networking is definitely one of the top benefits that we hear from our students and our alums about going to a governor's school. They meet people that they would have never had a chance to meet before, including mentors, but also their own peers. And then they're kind of growing up with them. And we have seen where they're working together on businesses. And we are also working on growing our alumni network and providing support, like I mentioned, that college program that we also offer to collegiate entrepreneurs.
So, oh, I was muted. Awesome. Thank you so much. Again, yeah, not going to repeat what everyone else has said. We have, when students go through GSA, they get the access to college scholarships. I want to point out that word access, because it is not a blanket, you get the acceptance. It depends on whatever, credentials that the college or university is asking for, but through GSA, you have that access. At the summer program itself, we have a college fair where we have colleges and universities from throughout the region, come to campus and they meet with the students. And then in the fall, we have what's called College and Career Day. That is for GSA alums. We partner with YPAS in Louisville. And again, it's a college fair where students get to meet I think it's roughly about 30 to 35 colleges and universities who are there. And then the students who are seniors can actually apply to schools and get to have like a audition. They get to have an in-person audition if their art form is in person with those schools. So, yeah. Oh, we have an alum network of over 9,000 that is the if you like when you meet a GSA alum or a GSA or a GSP or a GSE alum, you know because they will let you know. And I think I will say our alum status, like throughout the three of us, we're sister programs. So we're here to support all of us, no matter if you're a scholar versus if you're an entrepreneur versus if you're an artist. We are here to support all of us.
With trio programs, we're a little bit different. We are a more national stage throughout the country. And Kentucky Trio alone provides 8 scholarships at $500 a person for our participants. We have Upward Bound Math Science that have summer programs that last throughout 6 weeks out of the summer. They have their own scholarships. We have Educational Talent Search that has their own scholarships. EOC programs for the high school seniors and adults that have their own scholarships. I'm also the president of a national organization for educational opportunity centers for the adult EOC programs in TRIO, and we provide 6 $1,000 scholarships. So we have a lot of opportunities for scholarships. Now, as far as alumni, we have a National TRIO Alumni Association. You may know some of them as Angela Bassett, Vivica Fox, Oscar Quiones from NBC. We have a large alumni presence, and we are happy to help not only in Kentucky but throughout the nation. In Kentucky, we have Amber Philpott is a alumni as well, and so we have a lot of people. We have a lot of programs and a lot of scholarship opportunities with TRIO programs.
Thank you all. This is great information. I know that, if I were back in the counselor role, and advisor role, I would be like eating this up because this is so great and so many tips for helping students or helping identify students that might thrive in these programs. There's, like I said, so many questions. We do have a little housekeeping that we need to take care of on the end, but we still have 8 minutes. So I want to give each of you just really quickly an opportunity to just share one quick piece of advice that you have for counselors as they are supporting students in the process of applying for these programs or supporting students in reaching out to those TRIO opportunities. So Matthew, we'll start and go in reverse order this time.
Sure. And you said you want to talk about the opportunities to apply to this? Sorry,
Just
Missy.
one piece of advice.
One piece of advice: don't ever give up. Like I said, I got my GED back in 2001, and now I have a doctorate degree. TRIO programs help and fight and support. Kentucky is very proud. Appalachia is a very proud area. And so we need to show the nation that Kentucky is strong and Kentucky does make a difference in education.
Oh, that was beautiful, Matthew. Thank you. Um, the biggest piece of advice that I would say to the counselors and students who want to apply to GSA is that just apply. Like truly just apply. It is cliche, you miss 100% of the shots that you do not take. Um, I will give this anecdote very quickly. There's a student who completed all of her application and did not hit submit last year because everyone who she had told was not supportive, said, oh, well, I know people who didn't get in, so I don't think you're going to get in, or I don't really know about that whole creative writing thing that you want to do. And the student had every single piece of it done and closed out the application and then called a week after And she and I talked. They explained to me, like, what their situation was. And so I was like, hey, I'm gonna submit it for you. I was like, but like, I want you to believe in yourself and you to just try. And that student ended up getting into the program and had some of the best work we've ever seen. So encourage your students to just go through the process. Like going through the process itself is going to be more beneficial than I think a lot of people imagine, because that is it gets you ready for college applications, auditions, job interviews. Like all of that is very important. So again, support your students, and if there's a question that you do not have the answer to, reach out to us. We always say we are not scary adults. We love this work. I love my work. The summer program is the best part of the job, from being able to have fun with 250 kids a month to having to call somebody's mom because someone didn't do what they were supposed to do. I love my work. Encourage them to reach out if they have questions, and encourage them to just go through the process.
Yeah, so I'll just jump in with this notion of advising students and advisors. Don't let barriers stop you. And by that, I just mean, look, if the travel's an issue, if, like I think all of our programs really mean it when we say we want to help you get here. So don't let financial things, don't let, other issues like that get in the way. And again, that's for the students who maybe not typically think that they're able to do this kind of thing. So please just help us break down those barriers and know that we mean it when we say we want to make it happen.
So I agree with everything that's being said. I realized just now that I never said that our program is also free. So just to be clear, that it's also a free opportunity. My biggest advice for counselors is to sit down soon and kind of make your own timeline for when your school deadline will be. It is true that all students can apply for GSP, but then they have to be nominated by the school to get to the state level. So anyone can apply, but then they compete at the school level. And it's up to you, counselors, to set your deadlines, announce your deadlines, make sure that students, all juniors in your school, know what the deadline is so that they can submit their application to you. So if you have your kind of timeline laid out and you communicate that effectively to your students, they'll know that they can compete. The one piece that sometimes throws people off is because we do require a test score. If you have any juniors who have not yet taken the PSAT, ACT, or SAT, encourage them to sign up for a test and work with them about when, scores come back, maybe adjust your deadline to accommodate when to expect those scores back, because deadlines on our end are not until January. So they have the fall semester as long as you work with the students to make sure that they get all their pieces submitted to you, and then, submit them to us in January. Thank you.
Well, thank you all. There's been so much great information shared. I certainly thank you for your time and your expertise. And to our counselors on the audience, I certainly thank you all for all that you all do to support students, and hope that you've gained some information that will help you support students in the application process for these life-changing opportunities and experiences. And I know TRIO's just a tad different, but certainly some life-changing opportunities there as well. I would ask that if you want your ELA or FRISC certificate, that you complete this short evaluation. That is how you will get your ELA. You have to complete the evaluation in order to get your ELA or FRISC certificate. I will say also that we do have another webinar coming up this month, September 23rd. My colleague Robin Abair will be leading that webinar, and it is discussing innovative early college models. So we hope you will join us for that. I think Heather dropped the link to the evaluation in the chat should you need it. But if she doesn't mind, she can go back to that evaluation slide so you can see the QR code there. Again, thank you all so much for joining us. I'm so excited about the information that was shared and excited to have learned a lot more about these programs myself. We will share out the slide deck and resources. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. On behalf of the Kentucky Advising Academy and the Council on Post-Secondary Education, we thank you all for your time and hope you all have a fabulous remainder of the day.